So, is the UV-22 Ham HT package from Amazon worth taking a look at? Stick around and decide for yourself. The UV-22 Ham HT from BaoFeng is one of several new radios BaoFeng released in mid to late 2024. The radio bears an FCC ID number that indicates that it's electrically the same as the UV-17. What's different is that it boasts a new case with some very nice styling options. As I've mentioned before, BaoFeng seems to have established a marketing strategy where they put the same radio circuits into a variety of cases with differing style elements to give us, as consumers, some aesthetic choices while not having to design lots of different radio circuits. As you see, this radio has two knobs on the top, and the band, memory VFO, and AB buttons are omitted. The smaller knob turns the radio on and adjusts the volume, and the larger knob ratchets through channel changes and menu items when in the menu system. As for the missing buttons, a short press on the exit button switches between the upper and lower display like an AB button. A long press on the menu key toggles between memory and VFO modes, and you can use the side keys to access the FM broadcast function as well as the NOAA weather channels. The radio has 999 memory channels, a color screen, USB-C charging, and a nice bunch of accessories. This radio will transmit in the 1.25 meter band, but will require a separate 1.2 meter band or tri-band antenna. Let's take a look at what you'll get. So this is the box that the UV-22 comes in. It's a typical BaoFeng box, so let's see what we find inside. First is the user's manual, and it's typical of the BaoFeng user's manual. It gives you the notes, warnings, cautions, some information on charging the battery, diagrams of the various parts of the radio. Here's a list of the icons that you'll see displayed depending on what you've got set in the radio. You'll see these on the screen, keypad controls, how to turn the radio, FM radio on, monitor the weather channels and how to access those. And then it goes into scanning modes, and then it will finish up with the list of the various menu items and what it is that they do, and then just a quick table display of that same information here with 42 menu items on this particular radio, and then the technical specs are there in Appendix C at the back. So again, pretty typical of BaoFeng user manuals. So let's start with some of the accessories. Okay, the UV-22 comes with quite an array of accessories, and it's kind of different from some of the other BaoFeng radios that are generally pretty basic, but this comes with a nice set of accessories. First off, it comes with a programming cable. There's a little diskette there with drivers. Normally, that's not going to be necessary to use that, but a programming cable for a new operator is often an additional expense. Not so in this case. Over here is a wired push-to-talk and earplug kind of surveillance or Secret Service kind of earplug here if you want to use the radio in a more discreet setting so other people don't have to listen to what's coming over the radio. Here we've got the wrist strap, a USB-C charging cable, and then the belt clip. And so the belt clip screws into the back of a battery, and the screws are there, so the belt clip sits alone. It's not packaged in a plastic bag. And then one of the unusual things with this radio, it comes with a speaker mic, a push-to-talk mic that you can plug into the K connector here on the radio itself, and then it has also a little plug on the bottom if you want to use earphones, wired earbuds from the bottom of the mic so that you don't have to listen to the speaker. You can listen in the earphone instead. So that's kind of a surprise. That's a very comprehensive set of accessories. Let's continue on. Now, the other thing that the radio comes with is two antennas. And so this is the BaoFeng version of the very popular Nagoya 771. They call it the BF 771. And it says 2.15 dB of gain. The max power is 20 watts on this particular one. and then it's a 50 ohm antenna, and it screws into the top of the radio. And then we've got the smaller version, and again, it's not exactly a rubber ducky because this is pretty thin and quite flexible, and so that seems to be the new trend in antennas on these little handheld radios. But adding a 15 or 16-inch antenna into the accessory pack is also a very nice touch. So let's take a look now at the radio. So let's do a tour of the radio. Notice you've got the screen here, and then notice you don't have VFO and memory buttons or band buttons and that kind of thing. That's because these buttons here do some double duty. And so if we take a look at this, we've got the menu and the exit, the up and the down buttons, the numbers that have shortcuts to at least the first 9 or 10 of the items in the menus system, and then, scan and lock and that kind of thing here on the front. If we rotate it here to this side, we've got the primary push to talk, we've got side key 1 and side key 2. On the back of the radio, we've got the battery. You can see there's the screws for the belt clip. Here is the USB-C charge, and then the USB-C charge LED indicator there. To release the battery, you just pull up here, and then the battery comes out, snaps out, and so you can see it's the UV-22 7.4 volt radio. And then here we've got the model BL22 UV for the battery itself. It's also 7.4 volts, and the charge limit voltage is 8.4, which, if you understand these LiPo batteries, that's what a full charge is on 2 cells, is about 8.4 volts. So that's what we have here. Let's put this back on. And then when we move over here, we've got a red cover for the mic and for the speaker, which is the components to the K1 connector right over there. On the top, we've got 2 rotating knobs here. We've got this one that turns the radio on and adjusts the volume. And then this one is a ratcheted knob, which allows you to use a twisting motion to increase or decrease the channels and make some changes in the menus. And then, unlike some of the other BaoFengs that you see, we've got the antenna on the right side as you're looking at the radio instead of on the left side. And it's an SMA with a male. You can see the little plug is in there, and that's where our antenna is going to go. So that's the power off tour. Now let's take a look at the radio with the power on. So we'll turn the power on by rotating the on-off switch.
Welcome. Channel mode.
And you heard the familiar female BaoFeng voice, and it said welcome. Now, I haven't programmed anything in here, so the frequencies that you see are those that come in it. And so one of the first things I'll have to do is go into the CPS and change out these and put in the ones that I want to use. But you're able to see here, this is the typical display, the typical font style for the BaoFeng radios. And so it says it's on high power. The circle C means there's a CT/CSS code assigned to this frequency. You see the word main up there means that's what the press to talk is going to trigger when you push it. And then, as I mentioned before, these buttons do double duty. So the menu button here goes into menu, and you can go up and down, and then exit the menu here. And then a long press on menu.
Frequency mode.
Change that main to frequency mode. Another long press.
Channel mode.
Changes it to channel mode. A long press on the exit puts it into search for the UHF, and that's if you wanted to search a frequency to do that single button press kind of cloning for a frequency for a nearby radio. I press it again, it'll go out of that. And then over here on our sides, we've got the top side key.
I-60. Tonight, mostly cloudy. Chance of sprinkles.
You've got the weather.
Temperature in the
On.
Another short press turns the weather off. A long press turns on the alarm. Another long press turns it off. And then on the lower side key,
On.
a short press turns on the FM radio. A short press turns it off. A long press goes into the monitor mode, so you can pull out those low signals if you've got something you can't hear with the lowest squelch setting. So that's pretty much the tour of the radio. We've touched on all the major things. The menus work the same as all these others. You select the menu item, press menu again, use the up and down to select the item, press menu again to confirm that, and then you can either go to a different menu or exit the menu system. So in that regard, this all works the same. Now, before I leave, I've got the screen protector on, and we'll just remove that rascal right there. And so hopefully that hasn't given you any glare during the recording, but this is the screen without that screen protector on. So that's the tour of the BaoFeng UV-22. One of the expanded features of the UV-22 is an expanded frequency range. This makes the radio good for an emergency communications kit as it receives across a wide range. Transmit and receive bands include 136 to 174 megahertz, 220 to 260 megahertz, and 400 to about 479 megahertz. The sales page says up to 520 megahertz, but mine wouldn't transmit there. That means you'll need to manage your license frequencies yourself. The radio is basically unlocked. The UV-22 has 3 additional receive bands. They are the FM broadcast band, the AM air band from 108 to 136 megahertz, and 350 to 390 megahertz. If you're finding this video helpful, how about clicking the thumbs up button below the video? If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do. It costs you nothing, and when you click the notification bell, you'll know when we release new videos. You can also click the join button to learn more about becoming a channel member, or click the thanks button to make a one-time contribution to support the channel. I really appreciate it. One of the continuing issues with many BaoFeng budget class radios is that their signal quality is poor in the 2-meter band. As we'll see in the following clip, the UV-22 is no exception. Its 1.25 meter signal is clean, but for some reason they're unable or unwilling to clean up 2 meters. Let's take a look. So here I've got the UV-22 connected to my tiny SA Ultra, and we've got it all ready to go. I've got it set to measure harmonics with 40 dB of external gain, which is this up here. And then you can see the line, the horizontal line is 16.02, which represents the 25 microwatt limit for harmonics. So let's press the push to talk and see what we get here. We'll let it go through the scan a couple of times to stabilize. Okay, so this is disappointing. The harmonic number 2, as you can see, is only 7 dB below the fundamental, and it is above that 25 microwatts. These other harmonics are more than 40 below, and they are also below the line, so those are good, but this one is a problem. So technically this one is a fail. So it's unfortunate that with these budget price radios, and the UV-22 is a really cool little radio with lots of accessories, the fact that they somehow cannot figure out how to get that harmonic out of the 293 frequency is just baffling to me. So let's take a look at what it looks like here in the 220 band, since that has the same requirements, and this is a tri-band radio. So the tiny SA is all set up. This kind of represents just the noise in the room, or maybe some noise in the radio. But we've got 222 set, the 220 band, so let's press to talk and see what we get. Again, we'll let this stabilize, go through a couple of scans. And so here we can see that harmonic number 2 here at 440 is below 40 from the fundamentals, and it's below that 25 microwatts. So on the 220 band, it is clean. Now that's pretty typical of these little budget radios that are tri-banders. In 220, they are clean. 2 meters, not so much. And that's unfortunate, as I said. So a little dirty in the 2 meter band for this radio. One of the things a lot of folks are interested in is power output. Here's a clip where I've measured that. So now let's look at the power output for the UV-22. Transmitting into my MFJ 874. I've got the power set on the 20 watt level, and that means we'll be reading the power output on the second arc from the bottom. I'm going to be measuring high power. I don't really care about the intermediate power settings, so we'll do high power in these various bands. So here's 2 meter. So at 2 meters, looks to be about 6.5, 6.6 watts. So here we are in the 1.25 meter band, again on high power. And that one comes in at about 2.9 watts, so quite a bit lower, 2.9, but certainly enough to trip a repeater if you had the proper antenna attached to this little radio. Now let's go up to 70 centimeters. So here we are in 70 centimeters, high power, again, the second arc from the bottom. Let's see what we get. Looks to be about 4.4 watts or so. So that's not bad for a radio that identifies or advertises as being a 5-watt radio. Now, let's listen to what the radio sounds like. As you'll see, I'm using another BaoFeng budget class radio in this demo. Test, 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 1, 2, 3. Receive test on the UV-22. Test, 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 1, 2, 3. Transmit test on the BaoFeng UV-22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Test, test, BaoFeng UV-22. Before we close things out, let's take a quick look at the radio's customer programming software, or CPS. One of the things that I think that BaoFeng is doing right is that they've built their T6 UV CPS program to work with many of their new radios. In my opinion, that really helps in that you don't have to load up your computer with a bunch of different apps that all do the same thing. Let's take a look. So here's a quick snapshot of the UV-22 CPS. Notice that we're using that common BaoFeng T6 UV series CPS. So it's the same for many different BaoFeng radios, which makes it quite handy. Now this one works the same with this radio as the rest of them. You go into port, set the COM port based on the programming cable that you're using. You can use Device Manager to determine that if you don't know. For me, this is COM4. I can press read and I can press start. It goes into programming mode and it reads the information into the CPS. It's all done. And this is stuff that came with the radio, nothing that I've programmed. Now, to make use of this channel information display, we can simply go here, for example, hit delete. When we click out, all the rest of it disappears. If we want to make an addition, so let's add the VHF call channel 146.52000 and click out of that box. It fills in all the rest. You can add CTCSS on your receive and transmit. You can add it or not to your scan list. If it's a repeater, so if this was a repeater output, then here you would have to type in the repeater's input using the proper offset based on the band that you are in. And then over here you can type in a name. And as I recall, there's like 7 or 8 characters available. So you might have to do some abbreviations for the name. When we bring this down, you can see that we have 999 channels. So it's important to think about the channels you're going to be bringing into the radio. And so you may want to set up your own band plan. So maybe channels 1 to 50 are going to be your locals, and 50 to 100 are going to be a city that you visit. Regardless of what it is, whether it's marine, whether it's GMRS, other bands that you want to monitor, give that some thought before you start programming, because this particular radio is not the easiest one to move around channels here in the CPS, and so you'll save yourself a lot of key strokes when you do that. The next thing we need to do here is we can look at our windows. We can see the VFO mode, which is just the starting place. When you move into VFO mode, The function is going to be important because here's where you're going to be able to set up a lot of those menus that are in the radio. So what's your squelch level, timeout timer, side key tones, all of that information is going to be there to include what you want displayed in the A register, what you want displayed in the B register, whether you want it to come up as VFO or come up as channel when you select that, and so forth. And so a lot of that information is right there, and this display makes it very easy to deal with. For those of you who deal with DTMF, here's another window that will allow you to put some DTMF information into the radio. In the tools, we have a power on picture import process. So if you have a picture that you want to put on the screen, instead of just the word BaoFeng that comes up, you can input the appropriate size picture there. And then here in Help About just tells you about the version for this T6 UV series. You can also use Chirp to program your UV-22. Choose the UV-17 Pro choice in Chirp as you see in this photo. All things considered, this is a pretty nice little radio. I really like the smaller size and the ability to change channels with the top knob instead of the up and down buttons. I also like the power output levels. Many budget class radios that advertise themselves as 5-watt radios are more like 3.5 watts, so the power output of the UV-22 is pretty impressive. For me and others, the signal purity on 2 meters is an issue. On the other hand, since 70 centimeter repeaters outnumber 2 meter repeaters in many places, not just routinely transmitting on 2 meters is a reasonable compromise. I also realize that many of you just don't care. The other negative I have is that the PTT button is kind of soft. At least on the model I received, the little click when pressing the PTT is quite subtle. It's a minor point, but I thought you should know. Let me know in the comments section what you think of the UV-22. Helpful comments are always welcome. Join me over here for my ham radio playlist. You'll find lots more reviews like this one. Again, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and 73.